Hello. And on that note,
Yeah.
on the phone now we have Rich Robinson.
I don't
Hello.
make- I can't make Rich wait.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Rich.
How's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Where are you at?
I'm in Jersey somewhere.
You're in Jersey.
I'm lost in Jersey.
Are you guys on tour?
Yep, we're on tour. We just played Vermont last night. We did a bunch of press today, and then we're going to D.C. tomorrow.
Nice.
How are you doing? You in L.A.?
Yeah, we're in L.A.
Nice.
Yeah, just kind of hanging out, shooting the shit.
Cool.
Yeah.
There
waiting,
you go.
waiting for you to call, sitting by the phone. We're happy to have you on the phone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, and please excuse me, Rich. I've kind of lost my voice, so hopefully you can hear me. From what I understand, the Magpie Salute sort of kind of came together pretty organically, or I don't want to say on a whim, but it was not like it was a pretty spontaneous thing. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it was really only meant to be one show. So,
Oh, wow.
you know, I was on tour with my, solo band, and we were playing, and we had this offer to play a show. It was in New York, and it was in Woodstock, and right up the street from Levon Helm's place. And so Rick Danko used to live on the property, and they built a studio out of it, the same guy that built Levon's. And so basically the show was that, 100 people come into the studio and watch you record a live record in the studio, and they get to see kind of what it's like to be in the studio. And as I get older, I start understanding more about gratitude and what a gift it is to sort of play music with people that I think are just amazing musicians, you know what I mean? Like, and that I have this deep connection with. Mark Ford was one of those guys, and also Eddie Harsh, who was the Crow's keyboard player. So I reached out, and Mark and I, Mark had his history with the Crows, and it was cool. But I just said, you know what, all that's gone, none of it matters. I'm just going to reach out to him and see what he's doing. He said, I don't care what it is, I'm coming. And I thought that was,
I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah. He's like, I'll be there.
Awesome.
And then I reached out to Eddie Harsh, and Ed said the same thing. And so we did these shows, and we were looking at it like, oh, this is going to be a fun weekend, and that was basically it. But I think everyone felt when we were down there, sort of bringing those guys into my context and my solo band, and how this shifted and what that felt like in the room was really special. And so, then we were like, man, we should do this again. And that was it. And, lo and behold, we said, well, let's put up a show. And we just put up a show, and then we put up 3 more, and then we did a whole tour. And sadly, Eddie Harsh passed away.
Yeah.
But we decided to keep going and turn this into something. And it was really cool. Last year was the celebration of all the music, that I wrote and we played together. And then this year we decided to be a band and really step into doing something different and cool.
Well, that's like the best way to get a band going.
Yeah, exactly.
It really that's like the right reasons, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're playing with your friends. You all are like-minded. Hey, this feels good. There's no pressure. Let's see what happens and take it from there. That's so
absolutely
so great. And it's so great that Rich, can be so present and appreciate, like you say, and have gratitude. Like, hey, I'm really lucky to be able to do this and have this opportunity, and not take it for granted. Right on.
Yeah, I mean it's tough when you're in a band, and
yeah,
Chad, it's like you get into this, you're in a submarine and you're in a bubble for years, and you become a family, and you have, this thing. And I had not only blood family in my band, but, we were all, I was 19 when we made our first record. And,
That's crazy.
And so we went out on tour, and I lived on tour for, 20 years. And it's just, it became really unhealthy.
Right.
And it ended. And that was cool because we kind of got away from the unhealth. But now we got to, we have the second chance to kind of learn from those mistakes and put this thing back together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still these great people, and we're still making this music, and everyone's more positive and pretty vigilant about not going down that road and falling into that, you know, that unfortunate pattern of like bitching about each other, sitting in the back of the bus complaining, oh, that guy's an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, we don't do that. We talk about it. It's like, hey, man, if you have a problem, then you say something.
Yeah. We were the same way. We could sit on a bus and hold a grudge against a fucking guy in the band. Like nobody, like 3 or 4 days. I don't even look at him. You got to get up and play with the fucking guy. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, but you grow up a little bit and you go, oh, you know what? Maybe if I just go, you know what? That wasn't too cool, you know, or sorry. Or I can say, you know what? I fucked up. I shouldn't have, like, you know, pushed you in the face right when I was 9 shots of tequila that night, you know. That wasn't cool, you know, but it's just shit that happens. So then, right, you learn, you grow up a little bit, you appreciate, and that's the way it's supposed to be, you know. That's good. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. I have to, Rich, I have to just, I want to talk about your new stuff, but I think the listeners, I just want them to know, for me, the first time, and maybe you can help me with this recollection, the first time that I saw the Black Crowes play with you, and you're talking about being 19. Do you remember when you played with us at the Fox Theater?
Yeah, I do remember that.
And what year is that? It was before your record came out.
That was 89.
1989. We were 12. I was. No, I wasn't. But we had a band playing with us on tour in 1989, and I can't remember, but they were from the Georgia, maybe Atlanta area, and I don't remember the name, escapes me, but they were...
Back then, we were called Mr. Crow's Garden.
Aha! So we had a band that we were touring with, and they were like, we're not going to play Atlanta. We're too big to open for you guys. And we're, oh, okay, well, sorry. But, you know, we're playing the Fox Theater, which I was so stoked, like the home of Leonard Skinner and so many great records and everything about it. And so I think somehow either Rick or George Draculius was like, well, oh, you need a band. Well, what about my band? I just did this record with these guys, and they're from there. They could play with you guys. And we're like, great. And so I'm sitting up on the balcony, and I'm watching the Black Crowes play for the first time. I never heard of them. And I'm like, this band's, these guys are good. This is like a Southern, like Faces or something. Good songs. They look cool. I loved it. And I was like, wow, this. So I knew long before that it was all going to go, you know, and be great. But that was the first time I remember. And later on, I actually spoke to Steve Gorman, who has a radio show, and he was like, I was watching you play, and I knew it was okay to be like a sports guy and be a drummer too, because you were watching like an NBA playoff game like right next to your drum set.
Exactly.
And I was like, yeah, bro, no, yeah, that's what I was doing. But that was a long, long time ago. And
29 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's my and my only other stories. Remember when we used to rehearse at the Alley together there for about a month?
I remember that.
But that was like, this is like the early mid-93, and Dave Navarro was on our band at the time. We were writing songs at this place, the rehearsal place, funky rehearsal place in the Valley. And we were,
Little Pete used to rehearse there.
Yes, exactly. And it was like this hippie guy, motorcycle dude that like tweaked out the place. Like he went on a, you know, speed run for a weekend and like decorated it. It was pretty wild, but it was comfortable. And Chili Peppers wrote lots of records in there. Anyway, 93, Black Crowes are in the one room, we're in the other room. And every once in a while, and we would see each other out, you know, and shooting baskets or whatever. And Flea would go in, and they had like a whole party thing set up, going lights and a keg and right, and we were like on the straight and narrow. We were kind of drinking our fucking tea, and at the time and Flea would wander into the Crowes rehearsal place, and he would come back a little glassy eyed, you know, and I don't think you probably don't know this, Rich, but we made up a song called "He'd Been Hanging with the Crows." He's been hanging with the Crows. That one never came out for some reason.
I feel like that needs
weird
to come out.
It's crazy.
It's got hit written all over.
I totally. Anyway, long time ago.
That was a long time.
I feel like that needs to come out, or be the new Sirius XM Volume West theme music.
I don't.
Exactly.
Oh my God, it was so funny. We did
traveled with the road case that had a whole bar in it. It's called Johnny Wong's Tiki Hut. And so, yeah, we rolled it in there and set it up. So, there was all sorts of things in there.
Yeah, all sorts of wonderful pleasures to be
Exactly.
had. It was so funny because we'd walk by the room and it was like a party was going on in there all the time. It was great. I was like, wow, this is so cool. We're so lame. We're so like just and these guys are like rock and roll.
Well, it's interesting now that you say that time frame, excuse me, is that like the Black Crowes were at their peak and on the rise during a time when honestly they weren't really like anything else that was going on MTV. Like Nirvana was big, Red Hot Chili Peppers were big. There was a lot of pop sort of starting to come up, like Paul Abdul, things like that in the late 80s, early 90s. And then there was this band that, like you said, sounded like the Southern Faces. I remember, Rich, I remember seeing the video for, I think it was Twice as Hard on MTV at like 4 a.m. and being like, oh, cool, they're playing something cool. What's this? But I mean, I'm being honest. This isn't like because I didn't think it was good. I just didn't think it was going to be big because I just thought like this is not what is the rest of MTV. Like it's really its own little thing.
It's not trending. So
Right, exactly. And then against all odds, seemingly against all odds, you became one of the biggest bands, rock bands of the early 90s.
Yeah. Look, we were just making, we looked at it as roots music, what I mean? That was like what it was. And we had all these influences and we did what we did. And we were always kind of this island that no one could kind of get rid of or understand, you know what I mean? It's just like we were kind of a pain in the like, who the hell are these jackasses with bell bottoms and whatever?
They shouldn't be looking like that.
Yeah, exactly. But it is what it was.
Yeah, it was. That's what you do. What you do. It was authentic. What can I just ask you real quick? Like what music was being played in the Robinson household back in the day when you were growing up?
So my dad was a musician. He had some top 40 hits, and he was on the Alan Freed show and the American Bandstand.
Oh, wow.
When he was 18 in like 1958.
Wow. What was his band, or what was his name? Or what
he was Stan Robinson, and he was like a Bobby Darin type. So he had like the cool haircut and whatever. So we grew up with that, and then when Dylan came out, he went full folk music and just fell. It was like that was his guy.
All right.
And then he started a band called the Appalachians, and they traveled around the South and up north a little bit. But he loved Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and he loved Dylan, and he loved Joe Cocker, he loved the Beatles, but he also loved Mose Allison, and he loved Sly Stone was his favorite, and so it was, there was a lot of sort of eclectic music going on, and that's what we were brought up on.
All good stuff, though. That's amazing. Yeah, wow. So cool. I didn't know that. I know
I don't know how I didn't know that, but I didn't know that.
Stan.
It's kind of like you.
Stan Robinson, yeah.
Look him up, people. Stan Robinson.
Kind of like it was your destiny to go into doing that line of work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow.
His mom was friends with Sam Cooke.
Wow.
So Sam Cooke would come to town and go to their house when Dad was little, and so he had a pretty interesting life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wow, very cool.
Absolutely.
Yep. I'm getting the look from Nick. We got to take a quick break. Can you hang on for a second?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Hey, you're listening to Volume West. I'm Lindsay Parker. I'm here with Chad Smith, and on the phone we have Rich Robinson coming back from the break. How you doing? Still there?
It was a nice break.
Glad you enjoyed it. You mentioned how young you were, Rich, when you started the Black Crowes, and I noticed from my studies getting ready for this interview, were you really only 15 when you wrote She Talks to Angels? That's a deep song.
I was 17.
Okay,
but...
still. You were young.
I was still a teenager.
It's heavy. It's a deep song. That's a big song to be writing when you're still in high school.
Yeah, it's one of those songs that really connects with people,
Yeah.
That's but that's what music's about to me. Like back then, if I could write a song that meant as much to me as Tumbling Dice or, I Shall Be Released, or you know what I mean? Like that is kind of what that means, and so to be able to do that, again, going back to the sort of grateful element of everything, I look back at that and just see what a gift that is. I mean, that's amazing. That I really view it with such respect and humility.
I know that the Magpie Salute is now doing more original stuff live, but I know you started off doing a lot of Crow stuff live. How did it feel to revisit those songs, so many years later and in a very different situation? Was it emotional?
Well, yeah, I mean, for us, towards the end of the Crows, it was such a drag. It was so negative that we almost, you can't really you can't get outside of that tornado to even see what is good about things anymore. And so I think that last year, because the band was just kind of fell into being, so to speak, we didn't have, we didn't have original songs, and the obvious choice was to play the songs that we had played and that I wrote in the Crows, And so that was just kind of like, because at first we're like, well, let's do this, and then it's like, well, what do we do? Well, okay, well, we'll play, we'll celebrate, let's go out and celebrate. And it was really cool. For a long time, I felt really disconnected from my songs, and then to go out and do those songs with this bunch of people that not only played on the records but also had this regained reverence for those things, I think it was really healing, and it made me really appreciate what that band meant to its fans, and to and that was a really cool thing.
Oh, that's a really nice way for that to happen, right?
Absolutely.
Instead of oh, I gotta play those songs because
yeah.
Exactly.
Well, you can see it when a band that doesn't want to be together is playing and they're going through the motions. It's just, it's not a good experience for the fans or the band. So it's great when.
Exactly.
Rich, I want to talk to you more about the Magpie, but as being a Led Zeppelin fan, I have to ask you about what it was like playing those Led Zeppelin songs with Jimmy Page on a tour.
Oh man, that was.
Was that the greatest thing ever, or what?
Oh man!
Please tell me it was.
It was literally like.
Would you just look over just go, fuck, I'm on stage with Jimmy fucking Page.
Oh man, he was having the best time, which was making it even better.
Right.
Jumping around, he was like, and the cool thing was just to hear him play, and then he wanted to play on some Crow songs. So he's like, "Can we do this one?" I'm like, "Man, whatever you want to do, we'll do."
Whatever you want, man.
Yeah. Exactly. And that was something that Steve really was born for. I mean, that guy he did such a. I mean, everyone in the band did such a stellar job doing that. Him and Sven, but to be up there and to be able to sort of, we just viewed it as we're here to support Jimmy,
right?
And to pay homage and respect to his songs and allow him to, do what he does, and to have these three guitar players be able to play all the parts that were on the record when it used to just be Jimmy.
Right. So I was going to ask you, how did that come? Would you guys figure it out, or would he say, "I'm going to take this part and you guys do this," or was it not spoken, or how did that come about?
No, we figured all the parts out.
Okay.
And then and he was going off of live stuff. So sometimes he would say this is how we did it live. We ended it this way, and this is kind of what we did live. And so that was really cool too,
right?
To hear these songs. I mean, we learned strictly off of the records, and this is the framework of the song. We brought it to him,
right?
And we would be like, "You play whatever you want. You tell us what to play. We know we know all the parts." And he would just do his thing, man. And there was nothing cooler than that. But seeing his excitement about the whole thing was even that much better,
And how did he see? I think I remember something about. Did you guys play some charity event? And he jammed with you, and he just enjoyed it so much. How did it come about?
Yeah, so we were on tour with Aerosmith in Europe, and he called because we had done some shows with Page Plant. It was cool. We were on tour with the Rolling Stones, and we got a call from them saying, "Hey, we're doing these shows. Do you want to come open?" And we're like, so on the days off between the Stone shows, we'd go play with Page Plant. And we were like, holy shit, what are we doing? You know what I mean? How amazing was that? And then, we were going.
And then the Who called, and then.
Yeah. And, and I remember Charlie Watts came up and told me to tell the drummer that was playing with Jimmy with Page Plant at the time. he said, tell him, Michael, that, tell him that he's doing a great job.
Oh.
And then we tell him that, and then Jimmy was like, you tell Ron Wood that we love him. And so we were just kind of like,
my
going
God.
back and forth. And so it was really, really cool.
That is so amazing.
And so then Jimmy had married this nice woman from Brazil. Her name was Hermione. And she had this fund, the Brazilian Children's Fund.
Okay.
And he had done this show at Café de Paris in London a few times, and he wanted to try something different. And so he was like, "You want to come be my band?" And we're like, "Are you kidding?" And so we went down there and we learned. And he said, "What songs do you want to do?" And he really liked the fact that we didn't pick the obvious ones. We wanted to do "In My Time of Dying." We wanted to do 10 Years Gone. We wanted to do these songs.
Right. It wasn't rock and roll and Stairway to Heaven. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was like, all right. So he was so excited. So we learned about 5 songs, went down there and played it with him. And during the rehearsal, he felt and we felt so at ease with one another.
Right.
That someone was like, you guys should do a tour. And Jimmy's like, let's do it.
Wow.
And so
wow.
We're like, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he doesn't play out anymore. It's such a shame to me. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
I think he's stuck. Look, it's tough. You're constantly, even me. I go out there and and not that I have zero. I'm more than proud of the Crows and what we accomplished, but I'm doing some stuff post Crows, and it would be. And it's cool where I'm here to do this thing and try these things, and but to constantly be like, oh yeah, but this, and I can see how. Can you imagine the sort of
be compared to the legacy of
the legacy
of
Led Zeppelin, and so anything that he does, is always going to give you. And Robert did it in such a quick and kind of sly way. He just went out, kind of took a left turn, did his thing right away, and then he rode that out. And then, so in that sense, he was able to, he was really able to kind of catch the wave, so to speak, and kind of beat all of that element. But I think Jimmy, because he was so responsible for the music and the sound, I think it was tough for him.
Yeah. It's just as a musician and as just a music lover, you just want, to hear him play.
Absolutely.
It's just tough, But yeah, and some of his post-Zeppelin stuff was not well received, so that probably doesn't help either,
Yeah, exactly.
The David Coverdales and all that.
Yeah.
Kind of shit.
I told him, like, look, I'll put together a band. Let's go out.
I would go see that.
Do it. Come on out. Let's do it.
Oh, man.
I would go
well,
see that.
you get one for the grandkids anyway, I tell you what. That's fantastic. But anyway, thank you for indulging me on that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have an album out now, High Water 1, but I believe you're going to do a sort of a Use Your Illusion and have a part 2 very soon.
Well, we recorded 29 songs in 21 days. So we just kind of went into the studio, knocked it out, and we had so much material. We didn't want to lead with a box set. We were like, we wanted to give people a chance.
Let them digest it, for God's sake.
Digest the sound in a band, and so we kind of came up with this, and I thought it was a cool way to do it. And both of the records were made at the same time, and they both really work well with one another, and one leads into the next. And I believe in sequencing. I think it's such a really cool creative element of making records. Putting how the songs sort of play out, what kind of journey you can take when you listen to the first song, from the first song to the last.
Yeah, great. And
Absolutely.
you did it at Danko's place? Is that right?
No, this record we made in Nashville, actually.
Okay.
This place called Dark Horse, which was cool.
Did you ever record Levon Helm's thing? Did you ever do his?
Yeah, we did. The Crows recorded one of our last original record, or not original, but our last new music record at Levon's over 3 weeks before he passed away. And Levon would get up and jam with us, and and we were able to take Levon on tour a couple of times, him and his band, and they opened for the Crows, about 5 or 10 times. And we would all go out. Chris and I would go sing The Wait with him, and and he was killing it on the drums.
He's amazing. I can't fucking believe it.
It really is. He was phenomenal.
God bless him. but he was a one of a kind musician, but drummer. I went and saw him do his thing there years ago. And you know how Charlie Watts, this is kind of maybe too technical, but Charlie Watts, for you listeners, would play the hi-hat for 3 beats and then lift his hand up, and the snare, there'd be no hi-hat at the same time, right? This kind of style of drumming. And I didn't know that anybody did that. I thought Charlie Watts was the only guy that did that. But he got it from Levon.
Wow.
And Levon was and singing and so happy, and his daughter was playing. It was such a great vibe at that place.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was
really
so cool. So I was wondering if you ever got to. That's so great, because that makes sense. Once you're in there, like, wow, I'd like to record in there. It was so cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool place.
It really
that
was.
3 weeks. We did 6 rambles, and at the end of the night, Levon would come out and play.
Yeah. Wow.
Amazing.
We got to go to break.
Unfortunately, we do need to say
All
goodbye,
right,
but I really enjoyed this conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing you play songs new and old when the Magpie Salute come to Los Angeles next.
In January, yeah.
January,
well,
awesome.
That'll be great, and I appreciate your time, man. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. Nice talking to you, Rich.
Good talking to you, too.
Take care, buddy.
You too.
Okay.